Hello, hello, hello to all of you out there in TV land. Welcome to the Create the Life You Love with Georgia Woodbine podcast with the Chapters Network. I am your host, Georgia Woodbine, and I'm excited because we started doing this podcast back in April, and we've been getting such a huge response from this podcast that we are now going to do 2 times a month. So it's going to be great. We're going to be doing more shows. I'm excited about that. Create the Life You Love podcast is really about sharing conversations with successful entrepreneurs and business owners, and to provide you with content that gives you action tips, strategies, and techniques to grow your business. It's all about entrepreneurs and business owners sharing their story on how they was able to transition to create the life that you love. And I'm so happy that you decided to join us. Like I said, the purpose of the Create the Life You Love podcast is to share the knowledge, support, and empower you with tools to help you move forward in your life and live in your highest potential while creating the life you love. Now, I want you guys, do not forget, go subscribe, share this podcast, and visit my website, www.georgiawoodbine.com. Now, I will formally like to introduce our guests today, Pamela and George Pendergrass. George and Pamela have served for over 30 years together in the music industry, in education and ministry. They both hold their master's degrees in community leadership and business ethics. And together they have traveled short-term mission trips to Europe, Kenya, South America, and Thailand. George was also the lead singer for a group called Acapella, and he has worked with various artists, including U2, Vanessa Williams, and Amy Grant. And Pamela, of course, loves discovering new foods and cooking and teaches an online cooking class. Can I have a warm welcome for our guests, George and Pamela Pendergrass?
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We're
Wonderful.
great. Thanks for that great introduction.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Can you start out a little bit about telling us what you do, and not only what you do, but why you do what you do?
Well, we are mission mobilizers, and I guess the best way for me to describe that to people, beyond saying we try to galvanize people about the good news, is I want to tell you an allegory. This is an Algerian allegory, and it goes like this. He said, in a village far away, a guy comes out of his home, and he looks around as he typically does, and he looked far down the road, and he saw a shadowy figure moving. And he yelled out and said, "There's a lion in the road." And as the lion got closer and closer, someone else yelled in the village, "That's not a lion. That's our enemy. And he's coming this way." And as the man got closer and closer, "That's not our enemy. That's my brother." Mm-hmm. We, as mobilizers, try to help people dispel fears, bring them closer together to one another, and also so they can see God better. So when we travel and go to different places, whether it's in the United States or abroad, our purpose is to bring people together, to dispel fears, and to find opportunities for service and collaboration. We do that because we find that there is just too much fear and ignorance in the world that we feel like we can make a difference in.
Wow, amazing. Would you like to add to that, Pamela? Are you there?
We're having trouble hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit of how you got involved in missionary work? Because I know that's like a huge responsibility to do that type of work. What made you go in that direction? Can you hear me? Hello? Are you guys there? Hello? I don't know. It seems like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty with the sound. I'm not sure what's going on, but can you guys hear me? Hello? Are you there? So we currently have George and Pamela Pendergrass, and we're talking a little bit about their missionary work with Frontier Fellowship. And they just started to talk a little bit about how they got involved in this type of missionary work. And so we're trying to hold on one second. Sometimes technical difficulties comes on. You never know when that's going to happen. So hopefully we will get them back on shortly. I'm not sure what happened to the sound. But they're very interesting. They have a lot to share and a lot to offer. I believe that, understanding why you're here is really crucial to creating the life that you love. And, I think that many people need to understand what their why is. And they were talking about, doing missionary work, and they're going to be sharing a little bit more about why they do what they do. And your why is your purpose. Your why is why you want the things that you want and why you do the things that you do. And when you understand what you do with your gifts and your talents, you realize that it's really about, serving. Are you guys there? Are you back?
We
Hello?
are.
Yes, we're having some
Okay. I
connection
know.
trouble. Can you hear us?
I can hear
Sorry
you
about
guys.
that.
Yes, that's okay. I know sometimes, you just got to roll with the technical stuff sometimes. So yeah, we were asking you talking a little bit about how you got involved in missionary work. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Go ahead.
Well, we were at church on a Sunday, and a gentleman came and spoke, and it was, I guess, Mission Sunday. We didn't even know if we wanted to go that Sunday because, sometimes I thought, I don't know if I want to hear that. But what he said was so impactful. He had been working in the Middle East for 25 years, and I don't know, something, light came on when he started speaking about his ministry. And so after church service was over, we just started asking more questions and just got curious about the work that he was doing with folks in the Middle East.
Wow. So
Yeah, and beyond that, I I think what was intriguing to us is the fact that he made a statement about the fact that most people don't have relationships with people in the Middle East.
wow.
And as I sat there thinking about that, I thought, the number of friends I have in the Middle East are very, very small. So it was intriguing enough to get us to want to be curious about seeing that part of the world.
Wow, interesting. So, what do you think is some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about missionary work? Because people see it on the outside, but they really don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Well, I think people are, first of all, for us, I had not seen anybody that was younger. We're really not that young. I mean, we're grandparents, so we're not young at all. But we didn't even see people that had some energy. Most of the time, they were Caucasian and a little bit older, like at the end of the road and retired. So, and another piece to that was we don't think we had ever seen any African Americans. And so that was intriguing because we thought, why are we not involved in, more involved with missions? Because most of the people that we're going to are people of color. A lot of the world are people of color. So I think there was a big misconception about that.
Would you like
Yeah,
to?
oftentimes, oftentimes people, they have one perception of missionaries that
Right.
is not necessarily always accurate. In other words, a lot of people think that, number one, you can't possibly be a missionary without being exceptionally poor.
Wow.
And they spend these are usually people that are at the end of their life. They don't have anything else better to do, so they decide to become missionaries.
Right.
We are working hard to dispel those types of false perceptions, because it's actually just the opposite
Right.
of individuals that make the biggest impact. It's
Yes.
people who know who they are, people who are at the peak of their potential, and yet they give their lives to God.
Mm-hmm.
That is impressive to people in other places.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that a lot of times, when people look at things, it's because of they don't really understand it. So that's what causes that misconception. And I think that a lot of times in life, it's fear that causes that,
Yes.
fear
Absolutely.
of how other people see you, fear of
Mm-hmm.
not being good enough, fear of being accepted. That's always the catalyst to, um, you know, when people can't really figure things out, it's because, wow, I don't understand it. So why don't you share a little bit about, you know, what was some of the things that the aspect of your ministry that you enjoy most? Because I know, like, it's not an easy thing to do. I think it's really like a selfless act what you do. And a lot of people don't really understand the steps of being a missionary and how much work is involved in being it, and the training and all that stuff that comes along with it. Why don't you share a little bit about some of the things that you enjoy most about what you do with missionary work, and how it's impacted you, like how you see things differently now because of doing this type of work.
I'm going to go back a little bit. Earlier, you were talking about fear, and that's the biggest uh, hindrance to opportunities is not understand things, fear in things we don't understand. I was petrified to go to Iraq or to go to places in Egypt because, growing up in New York, all I really knew about some of those places were the negative things, the terrorist or, 9/11 and things like that. So I think
Mhm.
sometimes when we're only looking through those lenses, we tend to overgeneralize an entire people. And I was very guilty of that and
Right.
very fearful. And I'm so grateful that God allowed us to step outside of uh, I guess what would have been comfortable um, for for me particularly. I think George would have gone and done pretty much anything because he really wanted to do this when we were much younger, and
Right.
that's the sad thing when you don't understand it. I'm like, how are we gonna eat? How will we get support? And so you don't leave a lot of room for the Holy Spirit, the God of the universe, who can do anything, right?
Mhm.
We hear passages like that and saying, you can ask me for anything and I'll do it. And it just sounds so cliche, but do we actually believe that we serve a God of the universe that can actually create miracles in our lives? And so for us, this is a miracle that we're able to do the things that we really love. Um, Aspects of it, sharing with people, experiencing their culture, And what we've learned is that we're all kind of the same. We all want the same things
Right.
for our families. We want safety. We want security. We want to be able to provide, a safe place for them to be. I'm gonna let you speak.
That's okay. That's all right. That's all right. He's on a roll.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say that you asked, some of the things that we like the most, that we enjoy the most about what we're doing. For me, it is the very thing that causes people fear that makes me excited. That is going places I've never been before. Seeing people I've never met before, experiencing and having new experiences that trying foods that I've never tried before,
Right.
learning things about their culture. That is probably the thing that thrills me the most about what we do. The opportunities for those kind of new experiences are always new, and that's really beautiful to me.
And the biggest piece to this whole thing with us now doing ministry, and primarily doing ministry in the Middle East, is that we're taking a stab at learning Arabic. We've been learning Arabic now since November. Well, initially everybody said, no, that is impossible. You cannot. Well, telling us that's impossible means we're going to have to try it, because we don't believe anything is impossible, right? So here we are now, fast forward, what is this? This is early September, and we're actually doing it. We want to be able to do, to be able to be conversational. So we're coming along, stretching our old brains to learn some new things. And I wish that we had thought about this earlier. And if I can encourage younger people, learn a different language while you have the capacity in your brain to be able
while
to
you have the opportunity. We all in America have so many things. One of the things that we have that people don't even recognize is the opportunity to have a multiplicity of languages and cultures at our disposal that you can learn. And if you learn a new language, it's like learning a new world. I kid you not, the world opens up. You learn things about people and their cultural experiences that you would have never, ever known just by exposing yourself to a new language. So we highly recommend that if you get an opportunity to learn something about a different language, take advantage of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've learned in life that when you become aware of your passion and your interests and your skills and your knowledge, you can create the life that you love, because you can align those things that work with what is valuable to you. So when you learn how to do that, it's basically you're learning how to connect the dots to create that joy, to create that sense of fulfillment in your life. And I believe that we all have superpowers, and once we learn how to tap into those superpowers, like you were saying, we have the gift of teaching, the gift of encouragement, the gift of giving, the gift of discernment, the gift of leadership, the gift of evangelism, knowledge, prophecy, healing. We all have these different gifts. I think that in life, a lot of people don't understand that they have those gifts and talents. And once you start to get past the fear, like Pamela was saying, get past that fear and be willing to try new things and do different things and overcome that fear. I think that like you were saying, even fear of learning another language, people think, oh no, like you said, someone says, no, you can't do that, or that's impossible. Nothing is impossible once you put your mind to it, because your mindset is what creates change. So I think that's so important that you definitely shared that. Now, what did you appreciate most about, like, I know you traveled to a lot of places, and I know like you're saying, you tried different food, you met a lot of people. What's something that you said that you would think you appreciated the most about the culture you were living in? Because I know when you're living somewhere, it's like you have to get used to the people, the language, how they do things. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Well, let me share something with you, and then I'm going to have to run, and Pamela's going to take it from here.
Okay.
One of the things that we both were struck by is Egyptians understand hospitality like nobody's business. I mean, I can't even explain to you the difference it makes when you go to a Middle Eastern country and they talk about hospitality. It's we do not understand it at all like Egyptians do, but it is so beautiful. I think it's helping us to get closer to people if you learn to embrace hospitality like Egyptians. So that's probably the thing that I probably appreciate the most, learning about how other people appreciate, how they use and understand hospitality.
And really just how kind they were. And I was talking to one of the young students, and I said, it's really a shame that, the perception for a young man like yourself would be that, you're going to hurt somebody or something. It's unfortunate that we can't see beyond that and get to show people that you guys are, amazing people. And a lot of times we don't even go past, we don't even make eye contact. It's almost like they're invisible. And I know that they're, bad actors, but they're bad actors everywhere. But I think just in general, sometimes we tend to just look at a whole country like they are this or they are that. And, not just the Middle East. I remember when we went to Africa in the early days before we started doing mission work full time. And I would encourage African Americans to go to the continent of Africa because it's amazing. It's, it was before the internet and you could Google, but still anything electronic or online, it's never going to be the same as being in that country and being able to spend some time with those people face to face. And so whether it's Egypt or Africa or Brazil or wherever it is that you're going in terms of missions, I think we can just learn from the people if we go from a position of what can they teach me rather than what can I teach them.
Absolutely. I know we keep going back to the create the life you love because that's what you guys are doing. You actually figured out a way to tie it all together to do something not only of purpose, but something that brings you joy and happiness. Can you share a few actionable tips on how people can create the life that they love?
Well, I think in order to create the life that you love, you have to be fearless, because, and you have to, sometimes maybe think outside the box. And if you don't know people like you that are doing that, because we didn't have a lot of African American people in their 50s, or even younger than that. We've since now been acquainted with some younger people who are doing it, and right now it's just the perfect time. So I would say don't, you talked about fear being such a barrier, and I would say that is the first place to start, is to push against your fear and look at the glass half full instead of the glass half empty, and at least try, because what else can happen if it doesn't work out? It just doesn't work out, but at least you will have tried it. I remember a story that I heard on NPR a while ago, and I think it's about I'm not sure exactly where I heard it, but there was a Pulitzer Prize winner, and he lost his job. And so that might have felt like, oh, this is a horrible situation. I lost my job, but in losing his job, he then found the time to write and, do what he needed to do to get that work published. And
Right.
sometimes you can take your lemons if they're sour and just make lemonade,
Make lemonade.
and and and
Absolutely.
and and look for the good in it. We started this in the heat of the pandemic.
Wow.
um, we had decided, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to now focus all of our attention 100% on becoming mobilizers. And we are funded through family, friends, churches, and you're giving up essentially your salary. And then we were so smart, we did it right as COVID hit.
Wow. Wow.
So for us, I don't know. We just, we said this is our fleece moment. We're going to put that fleece out there to you, Lord. And if this is something that you want for us, we are going to do it by faith. We're not going to worry about anything. I don't know if I would recommend you might need to have a little stash to be able to take care of your responsibility. I'm not advocating just throw your
Right.
hands up and,
Right.
I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression. You want to be able to take care of your responsibility,
Right.
but it still requires a tremendous amount of faith to just step
Absolutely.
out there into your purpose so that you
Absolutely.
can find and live the life the life you love. And it
Hmm.
starts by at least taking actionable step to
Hmm.
try.
Absolutely. I mean, the magic in my life began when I learned to let go, and focus on the present moment. And I think when we focus on the present moment, we let go of old past experiences, the pain, the expectation, the preconceived notions of what you think should be and shouldn't be. And, I think that, when you let go, you understand that what's going to happen will happen in the right timing. And, you
Right.
know, there's a signature question. We have a few minutes left, but I do want to get
Hmm.
to the signature question that I love to ask all my guests, which I think is so profound, is if you were to look in the mirror, what would you tell your younger self?
Hmm. I think I would tell my younger self um, to prepare yourself for opportunities and don't limit yourself. I think if I had it to do over again, I'm not sure that I would change a lot about my life because I actually love where I am in my life, and every experience, brought us to this juncture. And I don't think because I have faith. I don't believe anything is by accident. So I do love where I am, but I
Hmm.
feel like we're not super special. God can use anyone. And for two kids that grew up in the Bronx,
Right.
we have been exposed and have done some extraordinary things.
Hmm.
And I think that only happens when you have your hand open and say, what do you want? For people of faith, what do you want for us, Lord? We don't want to see a ceiling. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Right.
I feel like there's nothing that you can't
Do.
accomplish if you at least take a stab at it and try. So I would tell my younger self to put fear behind you and just
Hmm.
step out there and try.
Wow. Wow. That is so amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the show, the Create the Life You Love podcast. And that's the whole purpose behind this podcast, is to get like wonderful stories like this on how, you start out and where you end up and what the steps were in between and what you did. And I think, we all have the freedom of choice to be mindfully aware to create the experiences we desire and less of the things that we don't desire. So I just want to thank you guys for taking the time out. I know he had a performance tonight and you guys were like running in between, but I just want to thank you guys for taking time out to be on the show, because I think you never know who's watching, you never know who's listening, you never know who you're going to touch. And so I think that when we make ourselves available for those out there that are seeking, that are looking, that are reaching, that you just never know. And I'm glad that we have this platform to have, people like you and George on the show, and other, business owners and people that are
Thank
doing
you,
missionary work.
Cindy.
I think it's important to have a platform for people to see that everyone has an opportunity. You just have to take advantage of it. So thank you
Right.
so much for being on the
Yes.
show. Can you put the website up? You guys have a place where people can donate if they want to donate to your missionary work. Can we put that up? The website,
Absolutely.
Frontier Fellowship. What's the website, Pam? Could you share the information so they know
Frontier
where to go?
Fellowship, frontierfellowship.com. And I want to leave you guys with a scripture. It's First Peter, I think 4:10, and it says, "Each one should use whatever gift he has received to serve others, faithfully administering God's gifts in various forms." So use your gift in service.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. You
Thank
guys go to the
you.
website, www.frontierfellowship.com. It's up there. You guys can go and donate. And thank you guys so much for being a part of the Create the Life You Love podcast with, of course, Georgia Woodbine. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe this video. Share it with everyone you know. Like I said, we're super excited because we're going to be doing more shows. And definitely go to the website, www.frontierfellowship.com. Thank you, Pam.
Thank
Until next
you,
time.
Liz.
Bye,
Love you.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay.